We've got some breaking news right now regarding the looming budget deadline. This is just moving on Reuters. Sources are telling Reuters that the White House has assured Democrats in talks over government funding that it will continue to pay Obamacare subsidies for low-income Americans. We just happen to have to give us her take on that, but actually on the tax reform plan, too, is Republican Representative Jackie Walorski of Indiana. Representative Walorski, you sit on the House Ways and Means Committee. We had other things to talk about, but let me get your response on that, and you have to tell me what you think about that.
Well, I think as many things that are happening today, as you know, I think these negotiations on keeping the government open, the negotiations on health care, and the negotiations and all the talk about tax reform, all this stuff is fluid. And you know what? The president's out there right now, as well as our leadership, making sure that we have a deal and that we can vote that deal and we can keep this government open, keep it moving, and continue to do what the American people sent us here to do, which is our job.
We're 32 hours and about 22 minutes away from midnight Friday. So is the government going to stay open?
I absolutely believe it will. And I think that the negotiations you're hearing right now are part of that reason. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and I'm optimistic. I believe that we absolutely get through this in a bipartisan way, and I think the American people will be pleased when they see bipartisan movement in this House. They deserve to see that.
Will we see bipartisan movement and agreement on this tax reform plan? I ask because we just have this breaking news in. Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, Democrat, is responding to the tax reform plan. Here's what he says, quote, "At a time when income distribution is getting even worse in America, the president's outline clearly makes life easier for the wealthy and special interests and makes life harder for middle-class and lower-income Americans. It couldn't come at a worse time." I believe what he sees is that the top individual rate's going to come down. There will be a repeal of the estate tax. What is your response to that?
I couldn't disagree with Mr. Schumer more, and I will tell you why. Because we promised the American people in the blueprint that we laid out more than a year ago on the House side. I'm on the Ways and Means Committee, like you said, and we've been working this 24/7. We promised the American people for years, for decades, long before I ever came here, for a pro-growth, pro-job tax reform. And this is exactly what this is. This isn't just cutting here and cutting there. The House Blueprint Plan, which lines up so well with what the president said today, is good news for our fellow Americans. This is great news for the American people. We have a House and a Senate and a president that are trying to get in sync right now. Okay. We're about 75% of the way there with the blueprint. But you know what? This is how you create jobs and lift all ships in this country. That's what the commitment is. So I completely disagree with Mr. Schumer's account.
Except maybe the accountants. I don't think the accountants love this one. Because if it's simplified, people won't need accountants as often as we do to pull through the weeds here, right?
Right.
Okay, my question, though, is this. Put the Democrats aside for a moment. There are Republicans who are deficit hawks, and they are concerned that this does not have sort of a pay-go where it would be deficit neutral. Stephen Mnuchin was very clear. He said it will pay for itself. Now, that's sort of dynamic scoring with the belief that behavior will change, people will take the newfound money and spend it, hence we'll see 3% growth. I just wonder where you stand on that, because we were looking at your bio, and you very clearly were quite clear that you care a lot about deficit spending, and I think we even have it there. You say on it that we have a $19 trillion debt. Well, it's gone higher since you put that on, and Congress has to become more reasonable on that.
Well, here's the good news about this. The reason this is good news for the American people, and I'm optimistic about it, is because with the president's announcements today, this is just a starting point. It's a starting point so the American people know that all three entities here are engaged in a pro-growth, pro-job tax reform, where all ships rise, where individuals have a tax cut as well, and where we finally level the playing field for our American companies, small businesses, which make up so much of the backbone of this country. And, one of my concerns that, I'm going to be here making sure that we get permanence in this. You know, the only way we give certainty to job creators and innovators and folks that actually do the hiring is to make a permanent tax reform that works for and toward America, leveraging our American companies and putting our people back to work. So when we look at long term, we're absolutely going to get in sync here together. This is a starting point. It's not an ending point. But I will tell you this, that those regulations that we're repealing as fast as we can are also doing their part in the short term to spark job growth and to rekindle this economy. So this is a short-term and a long-term plan. I am very optimistic that I stand here today and tell the American people we're going to deliver on what we said we would. It's going to be a process. We're going to go through the hearings. We're looking at this piece by piece, step by step, and it's going to be transparent for the American people to get on board with and to put their yes with it. So I think this is good news today, and I think this is what the American people wanted to see, is we're keeping our promises, moving forward, pro-growth, more jobs.
Congresswoman Jackie Walorski of Indiana, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.